Well, another guest invited to bring some of her keepsakes along was Beryl Reid, who is currently appearing in London in a Peter Nichols play, Born in the Gardens. And although today she's perhaps best known as a serious actress, she began her career as a comedienne, with a long list of comic characters to her credit, including, of course, the appalling schoolgirl Monica and the outrageous Marlene. Why is it, I asked her, that so few people seem to make a successful transition from comedy to serious acting? Why is it so rare?
I think it's a pity. I think people, perhaps people who produce plays, you know, impresarios haven't the courage. I think perhaps actors haven't the courage. That's one thing I have, is courage.
Well, you needed courage, didn't you,
yes.
with your entrance into serious acting, because you played an ageing lesbian, and at that time you were a family favourite. That must have been
know.
That must have been hard.
Well, people said, you're mad. All the people who like you will disappear. They won't like this. But you see, the funny thing is that people in this country. That's what because I love it. I love this country. I love living here, and I think they've learned to accept sort of what I do and say, oh, isn't she awful? Look what she's doing now, and it doesn't matter so very much.
Did they not react rather strongly though when it was in the provinces with Killing of Sister George?
Oh, we emptied every theatre. I mean, we could barely get served in the shops, and because I didn't believe when we opened in London, and there were. The opening night, there were great big laughs coming. We'd never had a laugh. I mean, that was... if we were going terribly well, I used to stare at the other three and say, think of the matinee at Hull. And that brought everybody down. Because we used to spend our time looking into a shop next to the theatre that sold second-hand false teeth. And I couldn't make out how you bought them, you see. Did you go in and try them on, or... What did you do?
And who sold them? How desperate were they to sell their false teeth?
Yes, well, it was quite riveting there.
Now, the one technique, you've already mentioned shoes, that they're very important to you. Perhaps, I don't know whether it's bad luck to put them on tables, but the one technique that you're always saying, actually, Beryl, is that you start all your characters from the shoes.
Yes.
Now, can you go on from that, though, and why they're so important?
These, for instance, those, when I played in Entertaining Mr. Sloane, those were Kath's shoes. Now, you see, Kath was a sad character in a way, not quite centre, I don't think, you know, loved young boys. And at one time in her life, someone must have said, cool, your legs don't half look smashing with them shoes on. And so, as she'd had so few compliments in her life, whatever the style was, she stuck to those shoes. A little bit of pride, you see.
So if you start with the shoes then, do you mean that dictates the kind of walk, even a physical?
Yes, that's how you start. That's the key to it, the physical walk. And then when that happens, when you begin to think, I don't know if you've ever put anybody else's shoes on, have you? And thought,
yes.
Oh, how funny, I know just how they feel in these. So you see, that's how it starts. And when you begin with that, then gradually your body begins to feel like the person, and then you think about there's an awful lot more to think about after that.
Like voices.
Like voices.
Now this, I think, is it a gift with you, this ability, this ear that you have for voices?
I think so. I wouldn't really take any credit for that, because I have a very acute ear for voices and for languages. You see, that's something that I've been given. That's the management up there that have arranged that. That's nothing to do with me, really.
Can you perhaps show us a few? Or
oh, well, I mean, when it came to the impersonation bits, you know, and we had to get permission then to do impersonations of stars. And
that's fascinating, isn't it? Because now anybody can
but you see, there was a question then of using people's material. And suppose they went in Variety the next week, then they might have used some of their laughs. And I wanted to do an impression of Margaret Rutherford, and a friend of mine knew Margaret Rutherford, and he said, can this friend of mine do an impersonation of you? And she said, of course she can, provided, of course, she doesn't make me look eccentric. So you see, there you are. I mean,
yes, absolutely marvellous.
And now I have the Bristol dialect. And of course, Maud says, because she come from California. My daughter, she lived in California. She moved out there, and I got all beautiful Formica surfaces everywhere on the table. Hello, my love, she said to the television. How are you? Oh, that's nice. That's nice, my love.
The very talented Beryl Reid there entertaining us with stories from her early days.